Welcome to Live Melody Show. We are now here in Sweden, Stockholm, and today our guest who is coming to teach us about African politics, my elder brother DembaConta, and known as the African Prince, the singer that they call African Prince. He's now here to talk about Africa and African politics. Demba, this is something that we all want to learn from your experience and the knowledge that you have, to elaborate a little bit on Africans and the African politics. What is your take about that?
Yeah, thank you so much for the program is a melody song.
Yeah, live melody.
Yeah, live melody song. Thank you to have me as a guest.
Welcome.
You know, this we have this saying always: African politicians are corrupt. This is the most everybody says.
Right.
But of course, corruption is there. But we never discuss what caused corruption. Why the corruption is always there. Corruption is there, but it's here also in Europe, in West. So corruption is a phenomenon, not only African phenomena, it's a human phenomenon. So but it seems like sometimes we forget that we separate Africa from the rest of the world and always put all the responsibility on African politicians. So this is I think this is a misunderstanding by Africans. We Africans, we have to understand that there are some other interests in Africa that keep corruption alive. And you can take a lot of examples. You see, when Lumumba took power democratically, what happened to him? The Americans, the Belgians, and the other people, they all joined together and killed this man. And they replaced him with a younger military officer, the former president of the Republic of Congo, that is Mobutu Sese. So Mobutu Sese was in power for over 30 years. And those 30 years, so many lives lost in Congo. But prior to this, what the Belgic kingdom did in Congo-Kinshasa, it was incredible. King Leopold, it's been said that he owned Congo-Kinshasa like his private property. So imposed incredible things on people in Congo-Kinshasa. So, I mean, they accuse him for killing at least 10 million people in Kinshasa. This we don't talk about now. And then when Mobutu started to demise, he got sick, he got cancer, then West just took off their hand from him. And he couldn't even get buried in Europe. He wanted to come and die in Europe. They wouldn't let him come. While Mobutu is said has at least $8 billion cash money in European Western banks. And also it has been said that Mobutu is part owner in the airline called now Brussels Airways. So, but when Mobutu died, they set that airline into bankruptcy and changed everything and give it a new name. So everybody understood that this was a big part of that money was owned by Mobutu. So if you look at this and how much of this kind of thing happened in different countries of Africa, so it's a matter of that African leader, you can say when they come to power, you are elected by people, but the really power is not in Africa. The really power is in the West. So when you get elected by your people, you are there to serve the former colonial power, and indirectly they decide over your government. So if you don't have policies that fit their interests, you don't stay on power too long, just like Mobutu. So then it becomes automatically the leaders, they have to fit in the Western interest. So it doesn't matter how democratically you think, but when you are on power, you have to do as West wants you to do. Otherwise, you are out. This, you can take Sankare in Burkina Faso, who was very radical, and then suddenly they took him off and replaced him with his close relative. And the same thing, Kwame Nkrumah was also the same thing. Sekou Touré was cool many times. You see? So this is saying always African leader, you have to play with Western countries. If you don't stay on power. So this is why we have that corruption in Africa, according to my observation, because corruption is everywhere. Here in Sweden, we have a case going on still. There was a company involved with India, and this company bribed Indian government over 100 million Swedish krona. That the Swedish society is angry about this.
Wow.
They don't want Sweden to get involved in that kind of business. So Sweden is taking this company's leadership to responsibility, because they don't want to associate Sweden like it's going to bribe another country in order to get a contract to make business with that country. Sweden is trying to clean her name from that. So you can imagine, Swedish companies bribing another country. Now Swedish society is holding their government responsible to punish this person. You know, it's a big difference than African leader who is corrupt and selling his country cheaply.
Right.
So, but the point is that Sweden is good in that, to do that, but to clean their country. But we cannot do the same thing as Sweden is doing. Because if we do, that Western society is going to punish us by creating a problem, coup d'etat, and throw that government, replace it with another government. Like after Mobutu, they put Kabila, and Kabila was kind of radical. Then Kabila got killed and replaced by his son. So that son is now still on power. He should have been going on long time ago. His time was up, but he refused to go, and nothing is happening. Today, there is an election in Congo, Kinshasa, and nobody knows how the outcome would come. The opposition is complaining that they are delaying the counting of the votes, and it's supposed to be today, but today it's not going to happen. And then it might take 2 weeks or more. So what the opposition is complaining is that there is not going to be fair counting. So it's going to end up the Western choice would win. Somebody who's going to replace this young Kabila is going to be the same kind of person as that Kabila who's going to live in the power. So this is the problem. What we have the saying in Mandinka, we are not drowning in the water, but it's something in the water drawing us in to drown. It's not by the force of the water, which is the Mandinka say, Mantara Giobulumbe Bambole.
Right.
So that's why African politics is if you are corrupt, you stay on power a little bit, because if you are corrupt, your corruption was started by force to agree with the West. If you don't agree with the West, your society has no chance to development. You see, Guinea-Conakry, Sékou Touré was refusing to pay what you call it, the tax of colonial tax. Colonial tax, he refused to pay. And when he refused to pay, then the French said, okay, if you don't pay this, we are going to destroy all the things that we create here in Guinea. So that means they would destroy railway, schools, roads, and many things like that they build in Guinea. And then, of course, Guinea would go backward to try to put these things together for themselves. And then, you know, that's not only thing, but Guinea would stagnate it economically, politically, because while this is happening, France is instigating other Guineans to try to coup d'etat this leader who want to do something good for his country. So if you want to do something good for your country like Sékou Touré, you have problem. So they are always after you, the whole West is one big family against Africa. It's not, if you have problem with France, you have problem with everybody.
Yes.
If you have problem with England, you have problem with everybody.
That's right.
So that's how they operate.
Yeah.
And then we will say, oh, Africans are corrupt, Africans are corrupt. If they want, if they like to destroy corruption, well then condition us. If you want to invest something in Africa, you bring the investment with conditions. For example, like the Chinese are doing now in Angola. If you look at Angola, the Luanda you think is New York. For 20 years ago it was like a village. Now it's incredible because it's a clean business between Angola and China. You see? But if Chinese want to control or involve in Angola's politics, then it would not be like that. So this is what West has been doing. France and England and other their friends, that's how they do. They don't like us to develop. Because they know if we develop like them, then their standard of living would go down.
Okay, I wanted to ask something that you were saying that the African polity and then mix also with the Chinese involved in Africa. So what is your idea, or what do you think the African leaders need to do in order to change that trend, or to change that way of ruling us?
Well, I mean, it's not an easy thing. Of course, now China is in Africa, and China is trying to do everything to buy as much Africa as possible. That's what they are doing. They are not giving charity. You understand? So what we should do as Africans in order to change this is to unite African countries to be one. If we do that, then we can be free, because if we are separated as we are, they are the one who separate us.
Yes, yes, you are saying that to unite Africa.
Yes.
Where do you think that grassroots will start? Is it between the Africans themselves in Africa?
Of course, it has to, politically, it has to be bigger countries in Africa. Countries like Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, Uganda, and Ethiopia. Those countries, they have to come together and talk and bring the rest of Africa to unite. But otherwise, these people, they split us into different, look at West Africa. Before they came to colonialism, we have Mali Empire. Mali Empire is containing many countries. Before Mali Empire, there were some others ruling in West Africa. But Mali Empire, at least what we know, is Sierra Leone, Liberia, Guinea-Conakry, Guinea-Bissau, Gambia, Senegal, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Africa Coast, and many more countries together are Mali Empire. Now, when these people came to Africa for 400 years ago, they cut these countries into small pieces. For example, look at Gambia. Gambia is just a small village compared to some other countries. Gambia has 2 million people, but Gambia is caught in the middle of Senegal. So that is because the colonial power is interested in something, that is the Gambia River. So they cut us from each other. And then after so many years, we speak Portuguese, French, and English, Spanish. So we became stranger to each other. The Mali, that is the head of the state, is isolated in the east. So Mali seems to don't have chance to develop. It doesn't have access to the Atlantic Ocean, which was their gate to the world. Now, if Mali is so isolated, this is very calculated. They know Mali is the head of the state, so they cut and isolate Mali, that area, and then fence it with other small countries like in Liberia, Sierra Leone, Gambia. I mean, you can see it on the map that why they did this. Because if Mali was where Senegal was, for example, then Mali would still maintain the influence that they had. But now Mali doesn't have contact with the rest of her country, because this one is called Cote d'Ivoire or Africa. This one is called Gambia, Senegal, Liberia, and so on. So we are not together.
Yes, as you say so, it takes us back to the people that colonized us, the Frenchmen, the Englishmen, and the Portuguese. But don't you think that we, the Africans, should start to take our own responsibility as a people, and also not only people, but we were the first civilization? If I could quote that from your songs that you were singing, don't you think that we Africans should start to even think, as Mr. Musa was saying, this ethnic problem that people speak in different languages?
Yes, I mean, we can always do that. I mean, Africans are struggling. You see, Ghana is doing very well. As I mentioned, Angola is doing okay. And a lot of things are happening in Senegal. Things are looking good. But the most important thing is to be together. If we are not together, then we are not free yet. So to be together, that's why I say big countries have to talk together. Small changes can take place, individual changes can take place, but we have to be together in order to be free, like many of these Asian countries. Africa has to be united, otherwise we don't have chance. We can continue like this. I remember some 20 years ago there was a program in CNN. They asked some journalists that how long you think it would take Africa to have the same standard of living as West. You cannot imagine what these journalists answered.
Yes.
They said it should take 300 years. So 300 years they said publicly, but what they really mean is not 300 years. These people would never like to us be equal to them. So we have to determine, our big countries have to come together in order to unite this continent. If we are united, it's going to be very difficult, because you have to know that all these Western European countries, they have a chemical weapon. Some of them have atomic weapon. For example, France, Germany has a lot of chemical weapon. England has a atomic weapon, and many others in Europe, for example, Russia. They would never bomb each other. Why they have all these weapons? This is for us Africans. If they need, they would go and bomb isolated place to destroy development of any kind. This is the only reason they can have, because why you would have chemical weapon in Germany? Okay, the Second World War made them relax, and they don't give them right to have the same kind of weapon or get the same kind of army as England and France and other countries. But still they have free hand, and they can have chemical weapon. And Saddam Hussein was sending his people in Germany in the 80s to learn how to fix this kind of weapons. And I'm sure the incident in Halabja, that chemical weapon, he bombed Halabja and destroyed a lot of people. That must come from Europe, because he didn't make it, he bought it. So that is kind of situation we can expect from West if we are not obeying what they want.
Well, as you said, that is international politics. But when we come back to the Africans and the ethnic, especially Gambia, Senegal, what techniques do you think that we could use in order to unite the people, to make people understand that we are one people and one Africa?
That is, every one of us can contribute. You can contribute, he can contribute, every one of us can contribute to talk to each other, to try to come together, to minimize this tribalism. But it's all linked together. Tribalism is in the interest of people who are controlling Africa. If we speak the same language, it's not good for West, because then we understand each other. But the more we speak so many different languages, so many ethnic groups, the better for them. So that's why they would not help us to promote this unity, because it's all about unity. If we ourselves should do as will do as they did, because, for example, Italy is not yet 100 years old nation. Italy had problem when they were colonized by Austria. Then after 1917 they got free from Austria. Italy had so many languages in Italy. They have so, even today, they still have many languages in Italy. So Italy's northern part of Italy, for example, Milan and Sicilia, they are not too much in agreement. They don't like each other so much because the north is trying to impose things on this Sicilian side. So the Sicilian sides are the underdog who want to maintain their own style of Italian or own style of culture. And there has been a very big conflict. So Mussolini's time, they used to kill people who don't speak Italian, force people to speak Italian. So we cannot do that. And when this was happened, nobody cared about it in Europe because it's an internal problem. They want to say, oh, Italians have to solve their problem. That is not, nobody should get involved. But if we do as Italy, then West would go and take part for the other guy. And then the problem would, they would call they would call it ethnic cleansing, and then you are in trouble. Any president who tried to impose this unity on other tribes, then the West would come and involve and support that tribe, however small they are. Then the conflict would be, and anytime we have conflict like that, we kill each other. It would take maybe 2 decades or 3 decades before we can start to develop again. Look at the Rwandan genocide. That was over 20 years ago. Now they say Rwanda is fantastic and blah, blah, blah. But on the expense of who? Rwanda is fantastic, but just at the corner, at the border of Rwanda and Congo Kinshasa, there has been a genocide all these years. They are killing people there. It says lately 6 million people are killed the last 20 years. And then, so 6 million people killed with help of Rwanda's policy to be friends with the West. So Rwanda is getting better, but the other part of Africa is paying a heavy price. You see, so this is what is happening, and they don't care too much about that can continue because there are so many interests in that part of Congo. So Western companies are there; they are getting a lot of stuff. For example, from the telephone material. Mobile phones, raw material comes from that area. So people are making billions of dollars in that area per year. So the army or the people that have weapons to kill other people, somebody is paying them to do that, so that we don't see what is going on there. Or now they gave a Nobel Prize to some doctor from Congo Kinshasa. So it's like, okay, we kill some of your people, but you come here, we give you Nobel Prize. You understand? And then we would applaud the generosity, and this brother doctor who's helping his sisters, I don't know what he felt, but I mean, maybe he didn't see it from that perspective that I'm seeing, but it's just to cool down the horrible things that are happening there. People are doing business there as usual, and he's helping some of our sisters who are raped by our brothers, and those brothers are paid by somebody else to do this so that they make more confusion in that area, so that we would think about, oh, look at this. These primitive Africans, they are raping their own sisters, they are doing this and that. But somebody is paying them to do that. We don't see that. So
Very interesting. Well, as you're now saying, we the Africans actually we are just like weapons against each other. When I say that, I mean, are we going to have any solution, the real solution that are we going to be a type of family trying to think about our future of Africa? Because if we don't, then Africa will be always down and will never come up, and then people will just see us like animals that we need to be used anyhow.
Yeah, I think we have to be hopeful. We have to be optimistic. I mean, after all, this creation of God, as some of us believe in God, and always be good against bad. And things would circulate like that many, maybe decades or centuries, but sooner or later, it's always the good will prevail. Because we know that, for example, the pharaohs, that is 4,000 years ago, pharaohs are black people like us. You understand? And now, the civilization that was here 4,000 years ago, that is what we are watching in Egypt. These are black kings who create those pyramids. But now when the Egypt lords are discussing about this, it sounds like if Egypt is somewhere in Alaska, it's not in Africa. And the experts are not African, they are Europeans or Americans or sometimes Arabs. So, but why I bring Pharaoh, because Pharaoh was exaggerating everything and then calling himself God. When God get ready for him, he disappeared. So their power destroyed. So somehow, I think some religious people are talking about change would come. This is by the Christians, by the Jews, by the Muslims. All these three religions are expecting a major change to come. And in the Bible is there, the Minki would inherit the land. So the Minki, that is the weak people, would inherit this world. Who are the weak people of the world today? Everybody is doing whatever they want to do to them. That's Africa.
Africans, yes.
So if you think from that aspect, the things have so escalated to the level that we don't have any right anymore to be able to protect. So maybe we can pray that God would come and make change. That's one thing you can do. But if we are to make a revolution as the English and the French did, that would be catastrophic, because French Revolution was horrible, killing each other. But now, if Africans should do the similar revolution, these people would just roast us with the atomic bomb. They wouldn't hesitate to do that, because so I think we have to take the diplomatic way to try to go on that road, so that change would come gradually. It would take a long time, but it has to come. And also, one thing I think is very important, because this is geopolitics. Here in Europe,